welcome everyone to the Your Little Castle show. You might recognize this gentleman. He's been in studio a couple times. One in particular was a pretty lengthy interview we did. Let me go through a little bit of the history because we're talking about how we're really working on promoting your business, is what the whole show was really about. And there's so many businesses out there that, God, I just had a conversation with a guy, said, let me cut right to it. He's in his truck doing a Zoom. And I go, I know, man, I need that. I need that help. I didn't know what you guys were going to offer for me to do this, but I need it. Where do I sign up? And Don was like, Carter, stop talking.
Yes,
he said he wants to be on.
He's sold.
He wants to be on. I said, let me tell you a couple things that are really important. Blah, blah. And finally she goes, what time would you like to come in the studio? And then whatever, all the other things that helped to get the sponsorship done, and we talked about that, and he was great, and we did it. So that's what we're doing here with this show. And Rick and I've been friends for, gosh, it seems like decades now, right? How long have you and I?
At least a year and a half.
At least a year and a half. And it boils down to, I'll give you so what happened was, I am getting fairly well known in the community for stuff, so people want to. Here's what happened. Guys goes, we're doing a karaoke contest, and we want the cool people to be part of the contest that we know to be the judge. And I'm like, I'll be a judge for your contest, all right? And I found out later, they're like, so-and-so told us no. But we went back there and told her, we got the Cardinal Cowboy. And I was like, well, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but hopefully I can make this exciting for you. And I got my new Power PC here, everybody. This thing is dynamite. And I'm going to call my buddy who built these. I won't name him because it didn't. But the thing blew up.
Got to watch the car, my man.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go over here and get it. I'm going to put it right in front here. Go restore pages. I'm sure it's an update that Microsoft knows about, and they will eventually fix this in a few days. But it all comes back if you do so. They're back out to the real world now where our computers generally work. And so with that, bam, here we are. But I said, I got some bad news. Steve, you know Steve. Mm-hmm. He's the guy who knew you, and we got in our buddies. And I said, Steve, I got some bad news. I was invited to be a celebrity super fan for a Super Bowl party inside Wrigley baseball field in the VIP area down where they have, like the Cardinals have the Cardinals Club behind home plate. These guys rented that whole thing out, and they wanted the Cardinal Cowboy to go up there, and they paid for everything for me. And I said, I'm judging a karaoke contest in St. Louis or this. And I had to, and I actually talked to my friend, Phil, and I said, Phil, what do I do? And he goes, you can't miss that, Cowboy. I said, good.
He thought for about 0.27 seconds, and then.
And he said, you can't miss that, Cowboy. You got to go up there. That's too big of an opportunity for you to continue to grow and do what you do to help the world and all the stuff that we're doing. And I said, thank you. That's a good idea. Will you then, that's the reason I talked to you about it, Phil, will you be my sub? And I said, at least I'm not putting somebody in there who's just random Joe, who's a real well-known musician who's worked with big-name artists across the country. If you know Phil Minardi, if I say his last name, but Phil
Minardi,
and he's an incredible keyboardist, right? He works.
He is very good.
We brought on one of his guys. He's training, young guy. Checked out that video. It's on our show. We put that on there. I had to bring some sponsorship in to do that, but we did it. We want your business to help out with this too. So, with that, I said, hey, I can't make this a particular event, so I will throw in a show that a lot of times when I say sponsor, that means I'm paying for it. But it's good karma kind of thing. You help people. Sometimes I do get actual sponsors. It just depends how much time is there in the day and who can I call and say, hey, here's a good thing, you want to sponsor it. That one I think I did. I was just like, it'll help me and give me some good content. Because these celebrity, whoever it might be, it's famous from St. Louis, will bring a little attention to what I do. Everybody, when something's free, it's not really free, right? There's always some trade, right? Oh, I got this free thing for you. Well, then you got to fill out this form.
Yeah, that's economics 101. Day one is there is no such thing as a free lunch. You can be a Keynesian, you can study macro, micro, whatever economics you want, but at the end of the day, it comes down to
somebody's trading for something.
There's no such thing as a free lunch.
Well, you fill out that little form in this particular instance to register for this thing for free, and now they've got your contact information. They're going to send you emails and texts and everything you agreed to by checking the I accept, even though you didn't read what it said, right?
Nobody does that.
And they know that, so it's like, and we get your house if you don't.
Yeah, they can put anything in the terms and agreement, and you scroll through, it's 400 pages. You just go to the bottom and click accept. Nobody reads that.
And they've got it now where they sense that you scrolled to the bottom of it at least.
Now they have a check.
And
you have to at least have scrolled to the bottom.
You haven't scrolled
and
to the
check that
bottom.
you saw it.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm a speed reader.
Sure, yeah.
But anyway, so that's what we've got. And I said, I will put whoever the winner is. And I call Steve and I say, hey, man, I'll tell you one note from the event. It was kind of interesting, fun for me. And I walk in, I'm like, all these famous super fans from around the country, right? And there were more of the kind of guys that were local, just big sports fans, but weren't quite super fan level or whatever. And so there's a couple of big super fans I know that like the Towel Man and the Jets Fireman. And I'm listed with those guys. If you go Google Cardinal Cowboy, I'm like the 11th one listed there. That was back in 2011. 7, 9, 12, something like that. Anyway, I walk in the room and they go, you could hear people say it. It was weird. They go, this is what they said, Rick. Is this weird? They said, there's the Cardinal Cowboy. I'm like, guys, just a regular dude, go to Cardinal games, doing something a little weird. But I was hit by a drunk driver. Don't really care what all the naysayers say because life is short and I'm here to help people.
Right on.
So that's what the show's about. And after Rick and I came on, I brought him on the show, interviewed him, put it out there, half-hour interview. Did we half-hour or 2 hours? 2.5 hours.
It was one sitting. I don't know how you.
Yeah, that's why sometimes I say let's knock out 2 half hours because I got enough air time to fill because I've blocked out the airtime I want and continue that contract. I signed a new contract with ABC because I don't want to lose it because I know we're going to end up ultimately the way this thing's growing. It's gone bonkers, which leads into why Rick is here because Rick and I talk philosophy and strategy and life and business. That's all one big subject, I think, but.
It's all connected if you do it right.
and how we can make a difference. I said, Rick, I need some help. He's like, I got you, bro. I do my singing. I do pretty well, but I got a little time. I'll help you out. I said, awesome. After getting to know you, I'm like, you're really on the ball. You ought to listen to this guy speak for a minute. I'll shut up here for a while. He knows his stuff. Former military, Navy?
Air Force.
Air Force, that's what I said. You hear me say?
Yeah, Air Force, Navy.
Air Force, Navy. What was that? I know you talked about missiles and aircraft carriers, and you've talked about so much stuff. I'm like, wow, this guy could like rewire a nuclear warhead if necessary.
I can neither confirm nor deny that there have ever been any nuclear warheads at any Air Force base on this planet.
Okay, and I don't even know. Excuse me, I didn't say that was a fact. I'm just like,
right.
In illustration,
I can't confirm or deny it. I'm not denying it.
Nobody's rewiring
I'm not saying
anything of that sort. Maybe we're going to.
I can fix
get
it.
a
If I can't fix whatever it is, it's not broken.
And I was like, this guy is a brilliant genius, and maybe could really help me.
Oh, I don't get. Now you're going way too far.
He needs IQ beyond Einstein. I don't know. I'm going.
Yes. Oh,
wow. It's getting deep in here.
I love you, man, but if I were that smart, I probably would have figured out something better to do by now.
Right.
We're working. Well, we can get that.
Work in progress. And
yes.
Ultimately, this boils down to, I had this idea. I was doing very well as the #1 sales rep in the largest marketing company in America, 1,600 sales reps, and I was the #1 guy 2nd year in a row, not for the overall. First time was overall everything, and they put me in the presidential suite. 2nd year, I said, this other stuff, I don't like selling it, and I got people waiting for me to talk about the really awesome stuff that you're selling, marketing automation stuff. And I got people lined up for that. And I got to drive down to Southern Illinois, which I love, but these people are waiting for me. And he says, just meet the minimums, get the things you got to get done. But that didn't qualify me for the trip and the #1 award. And I was like, I don't care. I'm making more money and I'm helping more people. And that's what it turned out. 3rd year, I was going again. And I said, look, guys, I've been doing this TV show, as you know, on the side. And we would film, thanks to the Car Shield guys and all the guys. We would film Mike Carter, Carter Law. Look those up because the judge called me and said, what's going on, man? You had your show and this thing. I said, well, we just know what we were doing to produce a show, and it wasn't efficient. We had to figure that out. There was a lot to do there. And I said, but he goes, we can all help you with that. I won't get into specifics. I don't know exactly who paid for what, but all I know is that there was a big tab for a monthly bill to produce a show, which you can imagine is normal. And it didn't come out of my pocket. Those guys are wonderful. I'm not saying who paid for what. I don't know. But it was nice to have that done. And I said, hey, I've got this show now that's really doing cool stuff. Can we highlight a couple of my business buddies too? And they were people that had purchased the software that my company offered. And I said, well, I followed up with a couple, and I said, how kind of results did you get from being on the show? First off, when we met, how was about the software working? And then and the results, they go, in that TV show, it's on my website. It's not something, I'm going to say it right now. Look right in the camera. He said, Cowboy sat right here, right next to him. I'll put the camera over here. He sat right where Rick is, or very close to it. And anyway, we said, he goes, I've made 12 sales. I've tracked my sales. That all came from the show. It's over 2 years, which is one every 2 months. But his sales are $30,000 to $50,000. It's siding, James Hardy, which is the thick, heavy, awesome plaster, strong stuff. And he says, my average sales 30 to 50,000. So I'll take the middle score there, which would be 40. I said, let's take the low end. 30 times 12 is $360,000 you made. And I actually know some of the margins, which I won't speak about here. And I'm like, you made way more than I ever thought somebody making. He chipped in a little bit to help get production done. And then I said, well, now I can really produce these things for businesses. And I was going to go back to my old company and say, hey, guys, I got something to talk about. I actually said I got something to talk about. And they said, we're good. And I said,
okay.
I love you. I love you. Guys are great. They really are. I'd still hang out and talk to these guys. The vice president that I worked directly under, not directly one step down, but he knew who I was and had me speak to the whole sales force when we had a seminar down in Dallas. I had to show them how I do this. 800 people I'm teaching how I do this. And I said, I love you, but I got to go and do my own thing now. And they were like, go for it. Good luck. Let us know how it goes. And I went up to a Cubs Cards game and reached out to him, and we met before the game a year and a half after I'd been working there, and we're buddies and things are great. But this thing now has taken on a life of its own, and so now it's gotten to be crazy. So I said, Rick, if you will interview me, because I have so many people that ask me, Cowboy, what do you think people say to me, Rick? You've heard this probably a little bit.
Who are you?
Who's this weirdo?
Cardinal Cowboy. Yeah. What is that about? What is Cardinal Cowboy? What do you do? What is? How did you become the Cardinal Cowboy? What?
Great interlude, because we're going to answer all of your questions. What does Cardinal Cowboy think? But if you understand what it's ultimately all about, I think you're going to enjoy. So there on our back wall, our TV walls, I'm going to switch over to the TV walls. There's our We Go Lead. That's where we highlight some of our leaders and go look at that, all the best of the best that want us to help them do some other. There's how we produce our little show, because now that's not set up correctly. So I'm going to little sneak peek there about how we produce our show. That's vMix, which is not a secret. A lot of people use vMix. And I'm going to make a change here. Talk to us about what you're concerned about with the people who need help in our community and they don't know where to turn, and what we're trying to help people with.
Getting your message out, or
Yeah,
their message
what
out?
are we trying to do with this show?
With this show is trying to get their message out.
Exactly.
To get, it's old-fashioned exposure. The more people you can get a message in front of, the more people you can expect to respond to that message. And if it's a good message and you have a good product, then it's a invaluable marketing tool, because it's there when you're not there. And like we were discussing earlier, it's not like paying for commercial airtime where you're paying for a commercial where you have to buy every single time that commercial airs, you're paying a fee. Even if you buy it in blocks, you're still paying per commercial. But these go up on the internet, and then that's it. They're there, and your customers can watch them 24/7.
You got it.
In bed, in the bathroom, in a car. I wouldn't recommend it in the car though.
You can in the car as long as you're not driving. Just don't be driving.
Yeah,
And these
you don't
days,
drive and watch videos.
people have their automated Teslas now. The Tesla finally got there. I didn't buy a Tesla. I was approved to get the nice little Tesla, and I had my little frustration was because it kicked off all the time. I'm like, and I've done my research, and the Blue Cruise from Ford or Lincoln cars did a better job, and I think now that Tesla's back and passed them up. But man, my Blue Cruise, I ended up getting one a little bit 2 years older. My buddy hooked me up. We're gonna have Joe on to talk about how you can buy a used car with a whole lot of savings. But bottom line is, what we want to do is turn that on. So let's put up on the wall. I fixed our little technical issue, as if there was not only one technical issue today, but that's how life goes. And so you can see here the other big message on the wall. There's our website. It's called Your Little Castle, because you need to make sure you put together the resources to have a little happy castle, right? And everybody wants to have the kingdom be the kingdom of their own castle. So this show's got all kinds of great leaders on it. We highlight some of the basic stuff that we want to emphasize here, because every time I change the video, there's Boys and Girls Club, or Big Brothers. I work with both of them. Big Brothers, a lawyer, somebody helping you with your kitchen, all of that stuff. You need somebody who's an expert to help you. And then like I said, we got the leaders that we highlight on our other website, which is We Go Lead. And this is everything about all our clients and guests and everybody that we try to emphasize. So with that, I'm going to switch behind the wall so people can see a little bit more about what we're trying to accomplish here. And there it is. This is the back wall behind me, and I'll zoom back out so you can see that we've put this on the wall. And I've got 6 cameras here. It gets to be a little bit to manage, but I've learned how to manage them semi-proly. No, we do pretty well. TV show right there, website right there for the Cardinal Cowboy, right? And I'm going to put that back on the screen for everybody to take a look at and that's the other screen, but screen 2. And just go check out cardinalcowboy.com. I update it like every year or 6 months or sometimes. It depends when I got a series of events going on. But one of the slides that just came by is a kid I worked with at the hospital. I'd been in a coma, lucky to be here. Went in and visited him. He was 12 years old. And I'm going to slide that back over to him real quick if I can. Now that we've made a modification, things are a little different. I got to get used to things, Rick. So does that make me crazy? You might be crazy. All right. There's when I got interviewed by Sprint and MLB, and there's my little bobblehead, and that's me. I was put in the Semi-Pro Hall of Fame, but there is, yes, Dalton. And so Dalton was 12 years old here. His mother sent me this picture when I ran. She comes up to me 6 years old, 12 years old. He was 18 when she came back around. I was doing a parade for the St. Patty's Day. And I had Cowboy, will you be in our parade? I'm like, yeah, big old parade, huge down there at Hampton. And the Hibernian guys put that on, and they'd been on my show a long time, but I was there with somebody else. They invited me in. I said, I got done with the parade, sitting in my car, got to do some work. And they walk up, and they're like, Cowboy. Because that's who I am, right? I'm the Cowboy. And she says, do you know who this is? You know who we are? I'm like, sorry, I'm going to be honest. Refresh me. And he said, this is the kid. He's now 18. He's a foot and a half taller. And you visited him at the hospital. The doctors told everybody he was not going to make it, or if he did, he'd be somebody we had to care for the rest of his life. Very similar to my situation. And needless to say, he just graduated from high school on time. Whoa. And she said, you were the reason for that. Whoa. Because I don't know if it's lawsuits they're afraid of, but the doctors have to kind of programmatically say, here's the system and here's what we can talk about. But don't tell them they're going to survive. Right. Because we might get sued if they don't, right? And
managing expectations is a big issue too. Yeah.
And I went in and said, let me tell you how this can work. I know that you're 1 out of 100, or like I was 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 50. One doctor told me, met me, he says, oh, you know, you're 1 out of 100 that's come through a coma to that level. I'm like, up here, baby. Ice, baby. And so
it's all in there.
It's all in there. I said, we can do this, and I can do it for help other kids as well. And I've got a list now. We've got 6 of them that I recall as they keep popping up after I come around, and I'm like, oh, that kid told me when I gave him a speech at the college he was at as a freshman, Maryville. A friend of mine had me come speak up there, and I got done, did my thing, and I said, if anybody wants to get a hold of me, and I've got this somewhere, it's like slides on the screen here, I think, but I said, if anybody wants to get a hold of me, let me know. And he said, I said, can I use what you told me to share with people? He's like, yeah. But he said, Cowboy, because I'm the Cowboy, on a steel horse I ride.
Giddy up.
And I'm wanted. That's all you could say. You get 8 seconds and you got to stop. But he said, I was considering suicide until I heard your message. I can take a breath here because it hits me. I start to well up. I'm going to start crying. But his name's Garrett. And I said, if I recall correctly, and he said, thank you. And he's on doing his thing now. And he's made it, and things are good. And there's a bunch of other ones like that. So I'm going to go through. I told Rick, you're going to interview me, which I say, long answer, this guest.
You got to leave me something.
I'm going to work on that, but we got to cover things. We're 19 minutes in. We're going to have to fly through this. And like I said, we might turn it into 2 shows. We got another event to go to in an hour and a half. We might make it 2 half-hour shows. But we're literally, this is good content for people to understand what this is all really about. And I got inspired by one of my guests like 2 weeks ago, said, Cowboy, I want to be on. Here's what my sponsorship, up front, everything done. Let's do this. Or production costs, or whatever you want to call it. I don't want to get in trouble for whatever, but people help me to get this thing done. And he said, you don't realize what you're doing and helping the community. I'm like, what? I mean, I get it, I am, but not really, because you don't know. You got tunnel vision and going out. So I said, all right, man, I got to make this bigger by sharing what I'm doing so that other people will join in and see it and go, oh, I didn't know, and it helps people. And then other people, more people benefit. You get some people, you get 1 out of 1,000. I've researched this. You could give them $1 million, and they will hate you. I've dealt with that. And they go, well, you know what they'll say?
They'll complain that they have to pay the taxes, or they're in the wrong tax bracket. Or...
Right. And they go, why can't you give me $2 million, you know? Oh, sorry. What was I doing? Of course. But the other 99.9% of the population, we can help, and they're going to go out and do some stuff. I've had some crazy things happen. I've some couple little, like, really, and it's just, and those people are highlighting themselves to say, I need help, right? I bash people around me, no matter who they are, no matter what they're doing, and that's my way to gain some comfort and make myself feel. It's easier to build the biggest building, or is it easier to knock down all the other buildings? You've heard that one. So let's jump in here. This is where Rick's going to take over. And I said, I got my little presentation, and we're going to this as far as we can. And where did it go? Okay, there it is. And now we got to hit the short button key shortcut. Let's see if it works. So sometimes it doesn't. It just refreshed. I don't know why it keeps that. But that is another shortcut. But I hit the control button, and it was supposed to do both. But anyway, on the big screen to my right, let's go over and I think I have a camera at an angle for that one. Let me just see which one it is. I think is it that one? A little bit. Is it that one? There it is. No, but it's actually this one. So you can see a little bit of that over there, but I can put on the screen what we're talking about, and I can move this camera. That's what we'll do. I'm going to let you give a little prelude now while I make some adjustments off camera. And I'm going to put a camera over there, because that's what we need, because we made so many little changes just for this. It messes up our system, but sometimes you have to modify the system, right? In more ways than one.
If plan A doesn't work, plan A harder.
Plan A doesn't work.
Yes.
Plan
and if at first you don't succeed, skydiving's probably not your thing.
You got it. All right. So tell us what like I said, the goal here for this particular interview. I want your take on it. I threw that on you, but you're smart. Let's see what you did here.
Well, I mean, you hit on a lot of things. You obviously you like to help people. And you do a lot of speaking. You speak to people and help them?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, well, how did that start? How did you what people wanted to hear you speak? When did that?
Yeah, well, I would tell you that started as I continue to try. Let me switch this camera. Talk a little bit more. I'm going to zoom this camera out. But give us why you think this is important for the community, that what we're going to try to do here.
Why is it important for the community?
Yeah, what we're trying to do with the community that might help the community. You do for the community too, by the way. That's why we're teamed up.
I'm trying to get people to care about other people more. How's that? It's, let's not, the myopic, self-centered. This is all of the society at this point. So yeah, anybody out there. You've seen the other side. When you get that close, I think that has a lot to do with adjusting perspectives. If you end up in serious physical condition or injured or a coma or whatever, that's going to be a definite wake up call of some sort, I'm sure. So how did you get? So you were just. How did you get? You said a drunk driver.
Drunk driver
hit
me.
By a drunk driver, and you were in a coma.
I was in a coma. But not initially. Initially, I started talking to the paramedics. I don't remember any of this. I started talking to the paramedics. I'm on the side of the road. The drunk driver had hit us. Blew a .21 later. That's pretty intoxicated. Pretty well intoxicated. How do you say that properly? He was
inebriated, intoxicated.
Inebriated, intoxicated.
Schnockered, blitzed.
Schmammered, they say. But yeah, he literally was like, I don't know how he was, but I was on the side of the road. I had to give my testimony in front of a judge later, but they said Carter's okay. You guys can go ahead, and now we got to get back to you. But here's the deal. He's going to need a lot of care at the way he is right now, or they can start that discussion. But I was on the side. They called my parents and said, "Can we talk to my son?" And when they said no, they knew it was big. It was bad, right? And so, but on the side of the road, I started to converse, apparently. I'm okay. Broken jaw, head with a big old gash. People can see if I pull my head up a little bit. See that, everybody? And then I started to have seizures right there as they're pulling the ambulance away. And they said if they hadn't stopped the ambulance, if they had been already gone 10 minutes, 3 minutes, a mile, I don't know what, they got to get the next one. You can't. Whatever. But they've stopped the ambulance, brought it back, or stopped the ambulance from leaving, threw me and pulled the drunk driver out that had hit us because obviously he was feeling pretty good and didn't hurt him that bad because he had plenty of
that's a thing.
Natural anti-pain medicine, and otherwise known as alcohol, right? And
Natural anesthetic.
natural anesthetic. That's right. They used to in the military back in the Civil War, like put some beer on it. Or
There you go. Here's a shot of whiskey. Bite on this.
Grit your teeth.
Here's a shot of whiskey. Bite on this. I'm going to cut your leg off without anesthesia.
Right. And so, literally, they stopped the ambulance, put me in, and they said if I hadn't made that first trip, I would not be here today. So again, EMTs, police, nurses, everybody that was involved. Police officer saw me years later, said I was at that accident. I couldn't believe anybody survived. I've got his card downstairs at my house. And it was literally, I mean, that's how difficult, how bad, how sad, how crazy it was. But we had to take it from there. And that's where we're going to leave our second half of the show here in a minute. We got a couple minutes to finish up. I'm going to give the presentation I give to kids at schools. I haven't done it for a minute because we kind of got shut down from doing public speaking for a while and visiting kids in hospitals and schools. But it's kind of going again. I updated my presentation just a little bit. And like it's pretty much the same message, but we give a couple more new slides of fun stuff that has happened and is going on. But literally, they said I wasn't going to make it. I had less than 50-50 odds then. Once I was in the hospital, they told my parents this. I was in a coma, so I wasn't really too conversational. And then on the 7th day, I rose. That's one of my analogies. I pulled the ventilator out of my own throat, and they said, okay, Cowboy's going to make it. But now you are going to take care of the Cardinal Cowboy for the rest of his life. They didn't call me Cardinal Cowboy. I wasn't really known.
Right.
It took a few years. I was actually in college doing some later in college. I remember, where does this go back to? I'm just going to go way, way back. I was wearing a cowboy hat to the Cardinal games in college. Somebody tried to steal it from me. I remember that. And it could all ended right there, except I found her. She had been enjoying beverages at the game also. I don't hardly ever. And she goes, and I go, give me my hat back. It could have all been over right there. I don't know. So we move on from there, and then the whole rest is history.
How your entire life ends up a string of tiny little incidents at perfect times, and if you so many times I wrote a whole paper once about the accident that I was in. It's like when you think about that day and you think about like if I had spent 5 more seconds or 5 less seconds in the shower, we wouldn't have been at that particular piece of the road at that exact moment that truck was there. Right?
Well, that's where it's just like there's got to be somebody behind this, and hopefully you turn it into something positive than something negative. And that's what I've chosen to do. I didn't do that initially. We're going to talk about there on the second show what it is, how I've turned this into something positive. Way back in 1991, September 21st at 6:15 p.m. when this happened. There's a slide out there on the internet. Jimmy Barnes, when he passed, that's what they said the accident had 6:15. They said, and Jimmy did not make it. Now they have technology. They might have had Jimmy survive. His head swelled, and then they just kind of hope the swelling goes down. Now they cut a hole in your head. I'm like, didn't they have saws back then? And go,
they did, but you got to admit, even if it's a good idea, selling the idea of drilling a hole in someone's skull, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough sell.
There it is. All right, everybody, stay tuned. We're about to do this. Giddy up.